See? I've been saying this for several years now. This movie is another example of why you should never travel overseas. Especially, don't travel overseas to go visit some people who you barely know in a small secluded cottage in the countryside. You'll never come back again! No Evil, released last month in 2024 and is directed by James Watkins, who's also directed such films like Eden Lake, The Woman in Black, and Bastille Day. And this film is starring James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, Aisling Francosi, Alex West Leflier, Dan Ho, and Scoot McNairy. Louise, Ben, and their daughter are an American family who are invited to spend the weekend in the countryside of an estate in Britain with a family that they befriended while they were recently on vacation. However, after several days, Louise and Ben really want to leave as they start getting a bad vibe from the other family. And as I've said before, when you get that bad vibe, regardless of if you are overseas or whether you're on a trip here in America or in your home country, wherever, when you get a bad vibe when you are vacationing with another couple or other people, you leave and you go home. I've been on trips where things just aren't clicking between the inhabitants of the said cottage or estate that everyone is staying in. And yeah, you just want to get out of there. Especially in this case, because that British family that you're visiting, well, it may turn out that they're crazy and serial killers. Now, this film is a remake, actually, of the 2022 version of the same name that was done in Denmark. Several unknown actors, and this was done definitely in the European countryside, and the style of that film is very dark and very dreary. The lighting choices actually are super dark. The cottage that they're staying in, it isn't this massive estate that we see in this movie, even though they try to play it off like, oh yeah, we're just lowly country people who don't have much, even though it looks like they have everything. In the Danish version, you can definitely tell, hey, these people are not as well off, they don't have as much, and the events that lead to the conclusion of that movie are much darker, much drearier, and a little bit of a spoiler, it's not a happy ending, which made me worried because when I heard that America was going to be remaking this movie, I was dreading the stereotypical Hollywood ending being applied to this movie. And to be honest, and not to spoil too much for you, but yeah, this film is Hollywoodified. The entire third act in this version is completely different from the original version that we got in 2022. And in my opinion, I know this film is getting good reviews from critics and from fans, and I would assume that majority of fans have actually not watched the original version, which in that case, if you go into this movie completely blind and this is your first take to the story, then yeah, you'd probably really enjoy this and think that this is a great story. And while I feel that this story up to that third act is pretty damn good because it's following the blueprints of the original, this third act in this version just takes away from the ideals of the theme and the message behind what the title of this movie is. The original Denmark version really focused on passive-aggressive evil. The title and the term "speak no evil" is reference to people who have evil things to say and they want to speak their mind because it's honest and it's truthful, but they don't want to hurt someone's feelings, so they will fluff it up a little bit, or they won't even say what they're feeling at all, like they're not speaking their minds at all. And because of that, the ending, the tragic ending that we get in that original film, means that much more when you look at the title of Speak No Evil. And here, we have a, like I said, a Hollywoodified ending where it's not so dark and dreary, and the bad guys get their comeuppance in this film as opposed to the original movie. And in that regards, it makes the title of this movie, of this version, the American version, not make sense. It's just a title. Basically, in this version, it doesn't mean anything. The message from the original does not translate to this movie because of that third act. Now, if you look at the third act just on its own, regardless of the original, just on its own, it's paced well, it's shot well, it's a well-choreographed home invasion movie. But it gave me the vibe that the adapters of the original script for this Hollywood version just chickened out, and they were cowards to not pull off a dark and dreary ending that the first film had, and give the audience this little happy meal of an ending. Now, my grievances with the script aside, we get stellar performances in here, especially from our two leads. Mackenzie Davis, who plays Louise, and she's the one that has her head on her shoulders. Her character has some baggage, she's messed up, and she's trying to keep this family together and trying to please everyone. But then when the thing happens in this movie and that switch clicks on for her, she turns the corner and she becomes this warrior woman to save these kids and to save her husband. But then also the shining star of the movie is, of course, James McAvoy, who is a brilliant actor. I have loved him in everything that he has done. He is stellar. Whenever I see his name on anything, I immediately get excited. And his portrayal of Patty in this movie gave me a little bit of recollection to the character that he played in the movie Split, where you can tell that he's just maniacal and he's thinking of things in his brain, but his face is trying to hide it and is conveying positivity and conveying happiness and joy. But you see these little ticks and these little twitches in his eye and in his mouth, and whether they're voluntary or they just happen naturally for him, I don't know, but it just adds a little tiny bit of nuance to this creepy-ass character that he plays. And he gets himself into this big, bulking shape that adds so much to this character. I wish the actor in the original version would have bulked up as much as James McAvoy did in this movie, because I think it adds to the performance. But he is definitely the shining star of this film, so if you're going to watch it, just go to watch it for him, because he is stellar, he's magnificent. The cinematography does a great job of just keeping you kind of not really on the edge of your seat, but it keeps you sitting up because you're taking in a lot of things that are happening around this countryside compound that they're living in. At times you think it's just a nice wholesome vacation, and then sometimes there's a little line that's said or a little look that's given that is just slightly bit off-putting to you as an audience member. And as the film goes along, those little ticks, those little instances just grow and grow and grow, and you feel yourself, again, not on the edge of your seat, but you're definitely sitting up waiting for something to happen or waiting for someone to snap, and that's where this film is going to kick into the highest gear. And you definitely get that with this movie. In the end, if I were to pick between the original and the American version, I would definitely choose the Danish version. I think that one is bolder and braver, and the ideas and the themes behind what the title stands for reign much more true in that movie than it is here. And here it is just a title. We do have some magnificent performances in here. That third act, if you have not seen the original version, I'm not going to spoil it for you. If you haven't, you're probably going to love that ending and think it's really cool and really enjoy this movie. If you have seen the original and you go into watching this film, it could be a little bit of a letdown, as it was for me. I was a little disappointed in that third act. Even though what we got was really good, I still wish the writers would have not chickened out and actually gone with the original version as opposed to this little happy ending that we get here. I'm going to give Speak No Evil 3.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I am above average.
So guys, if you've seen Speak No Evil, what did you think about it? If you've seen both versions, which version do you prefer? Whatever you thought, comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button to make sure you hit that bell. See you all the next time I'm releasing next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.